Welcome to the initial playing of the ITAM Kitchen. Oh my gosh. My name's Bill, Mr. Bill. And I'm here from the IT Management Co-op. I have Sasha Golive from the SAM Expert joining me, as well as Jeremy Morger from the ITAM Coach. And we're doing this to actually revive what we do within our industry. You know, how often, guys, do we just look at ITAM and it's like, okay, we get stuck in the weeds, right? It gets really drawing. It's about spreadsheets and numbers, et cetera, which is our job. I'm not saying it's not. But we lose the fun aspect, the people, the communication, how we live, how we talk with others, how we overcome adversity. Some people think it's mundane. Actually, I think it's fun. But think about that, right? Sasha, Jeremy, what do you think? I mean, when we were talking about it, it's like, okay, we just want to talk. This is our avenue, right? We make that happen.
I have been accused of being a talker.
Yeah, somebody stop me when I open my mouth.
And the whole idea behind the ITAM Kitchen is we're actually collaborating. This is going to be a collaborative talk about all sorts of topics that are very relevant to ITAM. Because how often do we talk about, okay, we get stuck, we don't know where to go. We don't know the community. We don't know the next step. And well, this is the whole idea. Here's that collaboration. I know, what a concept, right? Because one thing I figured out probably about 5 years ago, close to 6, when I started the co-op. And when we started the co-op, it's like, okay, do asset management 30 years, 25 years, you're doing that. You get that routine, right? You do the technical stuff, integrations, et cetera. I found out that wasn't the real problem. I mean, after working for HP, I'm a whole CompuCom. If anybody knows Vanstar back in the day, that's where I started. From a services company, I came up in the services world from an end user support role. But it's like, okay, you work with the right people, you make sure you're kind of the glue that brings everybody together. But what I didn't realize until I started co-op was what the real problem was. The real problem we actually solve with an ITAM. It's not a technology problem. Technology is the easy side, right? It's the people side. How we collaborate, how we talk. Because we are literally, when I say hub and spoke, we are the glue that actually helps put IT to the numbers. We think about that, okay, if we think about how we're looking at those numbers, how do we collaborate and talk the way we are? Which is why I've started going down the path of the public speaking. How do we talk and communicate? How do we present ourselves? And trust me, I've done Toastmasters for actually 20 years now. And I didn't do it just for the fun of it, but I did actually improve my own communication. But you think about that human problem. This is no different. How do we collaborate and talk? It's the opportunity to do that. Sasha, Jeremy, you want to chime in on any of that?
So first of all, let me go a bit of a tangent and maybe give a bit of a backstory to why this project was created. It's actually Bill, what he's talking right now about, people and community and let's talk. He's been trying, for those who are not in his cohort and maybe join us now on one of my channels. And by the way, hello everyone in the chat. We have some Texans there. Wales, wow. Yeah, Alex, yeah, Dallas, Texas as well. So many Texans. Why? I wonder why. See, we're in ITAM Kitchen, and I'll get back to Texas in a few seconds. I'll link this back to Texas. Trust me. So we had a few conferences that Bill organized in the States, which were very different, and for some reason it upset people who organized the real conferences. They were not the typical, vendor sponsored, let's talk about the new tool from Flexera and whatnot. No, those were ITAM people talking about everyday struggles of ITAM people. Very different to anything I've ever seen in my life. And the events have been going on for 3 or 4 years already. So 3
years. We're going to do our 4th one this year. Yep.
Yeah. So. And we thought, how do we let other people know about them? How do we bring more people into this ITAM community? Because honestly, it was shocking in a good way to be there and to learn about what's going on. And I learned from others. I hope they learned from me. It was an exchange of ideas. So we thought, let's create something new like this project. And the idea was actually, it stemmed from one of the videos I posted on my channel. I'm sorry for stealing the limelight for a sec, where I was talking about Microsoft's recipes and was cooking at the same time. And then we had a chat with Bill, and we said, why don't we create a channel that is called ITAM Kitchen? There's a reason why he's wearing an apron, by the way, today. He's not going to be cooking, but cooking and actually sharing the actual recipes may become a part of this show as well. Just as a well, I would say a joke. Eating is important. so yeah, maybe one day we'll have some Texans here on this channel who will teach us how to create a proper Texas style steak, which is still
I see someone within reach already online right now, so it's good.
So yeah, and this is all what this is about. I hope Bill will find the right guests for this project. I promise I'll be supporting Bill all the way, as much as I can, in addition to what I do in my daily life. So fingers crossed, and Godspeed. Jeremy.
So yes, Jeremy Berger, the ITAM coach. The ITAM community is pretty small, so I'm sure there's plenty of overlap between my folks and Sasha's folks and Bill's folks. I was brought in, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just because
we can always
Bill
mute.
likes to look good, so he brings in the bald people. Is really what it is.
I'm working on it. There you go.
That's right. So, but yes, so author, I get to announce finally that the second edition of Rethinking Information Technology Asset Management is coming out in February. So be on the lookout for that. But to keep with the kitchen theme, I am a terrible cook. I looked at my wife when we first got married and I said, look, I'm not one to enforce gender roles, but if I am allowed in the kitchen, we'd be dead in 3 days. I am happy to clean up after. I am happy to do whatever other chores. I can do the dishes. Just please don't make me suffer my own cooking. But the analogy works great because when it comes to ITAM, what I have seen and what I talk about in the book is that there is a sources, recipes, the data is really important, just like the data that you have with how much of each thing, why do you put certain ingredients together, cold versus warm, dry versus wet, and the order that you put them into the mixing bowl or the saucepan all changes the output, the product. And that's one of the things that we want to work on today.
Oh, absolutely. And it's well put. Because you think about ITAM when it comes to the ingredients and how it puts this all together, there's lots of different aspects, right? We're talking about the data, the people, the process, the tech, right? We're talking about how you do the governance. But it's more than that. Think about the stakeholders involved. Think about the alignment. Talk about the conversations. Think about how you may provide those updates to the executives. The executives expect all to be done. It's just simple like that, right? Well, anybody who's been around, and even on the auditing side, we know it's much more complex. Well, the whole idea behind the ITAM Kitchen is, okay, how can we have fun and bring the fun aspect back into technology? I know technology, food, go figure. And we're not talking about AI as far as how we're going to have AI help make this recipe. We're talking about AI. It can be one of our topics, absolutely. But it's not about just the automation. Because I was the integration guy. I was that guy. I was the geek in the data. You talk about geek in the data. I've done lots of scrubbing. You talk about, and I've done scrubbing tables too. That's a whole different part. But the whole idea behind the kitchen here is where Jeremy says he can't cook, we actually all can cook. The question is, how do we apply our skills we have to cook the right recipe that fits our own needs? For example, did I learn how to cook what I do? Well, I have what they hear it's a ceramic smoker. It's called a Big Green Egg here in the States. I love it. I've had it for close to 30 years, believe it or not. I love it. And it's had lots of I'll just say pork butts here in the States. If you don't know what pork shoulder is, something like that, a brisket, I've done salmon on it, etc. I also have become very proficient on it because it's reiteration, right? How do you work that through? But here's the thing for me when talking about me in the kitchen, and I didn't expect to be, to your point, that great cook. I get lots of compliments from the girlfriend, I'll put it that way, is when I got divorced, I had to figure out how to cook on my own. That's a whole different thing. And I don't want to get into the divorce part of it, but when you go and you have that major significant change, you have to learn how to do things differently. And from okay, how do you cook? How do you make that happen? And I did that for, we'll say, 2 years. Well, I'll just say with my girlfriend, she's like, "You're a wonderful cook." I was like, "That's cool. That's awesome. I was just cooking." Sometimes you never know what your skills are. And that's what I want us to be more proficient in, even within the ITAM communities. How can we be more proficient with our skills? How can we leverage? How can we take a little bit of information to actually help us drive ourselves forward? Because what I also am myself, right, is I'm also a high performance coach. So you have your performance, what you're doing today, but think about how you're being able to say, I can do more. I can make that more proficient. How can I drive that?
So let me jump in on that, Bill, because one of the issues that my organization is trying to address is the lack of cross communication between asset managers. We do go to conferences, yours included, the ITAM Summit, really highly recommend it. But beyond that, there's very little recipe sharing. How do I solve this problem? How do I set these standards inside my CMDB or Asset MDR? And we need to get better about that. A lot of the software license agreements have NDAs baked into them that make us very hesitant about sharing what the results are or what we've done. But there are techniques, there are details that we can pass back and forth to each other in order to help us grow. Not every sous chef starts off as a sous chef. They learn by observing, they learn by tasting, they learn by standing next to the head chef saying, here's how you do this. So, Sasha, your thoughts?
I wish we had the same discipline in ITAM as in the kitchen, you know. Yes, chef. That would have been beneficial. But yeah. I to be honest, I'm sorry, I probably won't add anything significant to what you just said. Bill?
Well, we know I can always add things, but it's about not just having the recipe. It's about knowing your version of the recipe, knowing how to alter it for your own need, right?
True.
Because we all have our different flavors. We could do, well, I'll just say I'm here in the U.S., right? I'm based out of basically Knoxville, Tennessee. But you have different cuisines. You have Southern cuisine. I could do Cajun cuisine. I could do Texas cuisine. It is different. I could talk about how you do barbecue in multiple different locations. I mean, for example, Carolina barbecue is going to be different than Georgia barbecue. That's going to be different than Tennessee barbecue. That's going to be different than Texas barbecue. They're all different. Why is that? It's because everyone has different tastes. And this is back to your point. We have the recipe and the guidelines, right? Whether it's ISO standards, et cetera. It's like, okay, fine, we have ISO standards. And we won't get on that tangent at the moment because I can go crazy forever. And there's needs for standards, but do the standards meet your needs? Do they meet your taste? Do they meet the taste of the organization? And everyone can be extremely critical on it in one way or another, but everyone has, it's back to the people problem. How is the business how is the business operating? How do you actually need to track those assets? How do you look at the hardware software configuration? How do you put that in place? What's your profile? You can throw FinOps into it as well, right? And that's where the whole combination behind the kitchen is. It's us being intelligent enough. And I did say intelligent on purpose, right? Because we're all smart people. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be here. But how do we help ourselves and help our team members to be successful in the activities at hand? Again,
Bill,
the recipe, right? Go for it.
Can I read a couple of fantastic comments? I don't, if you want to put them on screen, because
Go
only
for
you
it.
can,
Yeah,
only
go
you can
for
do
it.
this, Leona. So Matt Smith just wrote that ITAM is huge. It's not like going to McDonald's. It's like 7-course banquet using the food analogy. Yes, that's so true. And Patrick Duffy, the challenge is that you can get burned while cooking. You get burned when with bad ITAM, depending on who is paying attention. Who wants to discuss this one? Getting burned with bad
Well, you
ITAM.
get burned. Hey, so I'll hit it. I'll start off there. Is when you start talking about getting burned, right? It's also about being able to understand what your needs are. If you're just employing, say, because I just heard this just 6 weeks ago. I know an organization, large medical organization, right? Not pharmaceutical, but I mean medical hospital side, that literally purchased software without doing a proof of concept. And spent millions of dollars on it, right?
That's a recipe, but for disaster.
Let's take a look at that from the other way.
Go for
One
it.
of the things that my wife likes to say, again, much better cook than I am. She's an improv cook. She sees the recipe once, and then after that, she's off to the races, honestly. But every burnt dish is an experiment. And
Absolutely.
just because the experiment goes wrong does not necessarily mean you haven't learned something. How often in our professional realms, and I'm hoping I'm not picking up too much of an echo here, I'm sure the folks at home will warn me. How often in our professional lives do we allow ourselves to experiment? Do we allow ourselves to play with the data, play with the tool, and figure out whether or not that report or configuration is actually delivering what we need it to do? And in our modern lifestyle, we very rarely give ourselves the grace to play.
That's a good. That's a very interesting topic to think about. Are we allowing ourselves to play with reports and data and trying different angles?
Yeah,
I think that is a massive differentiator between a leader in ITAM or an ITAM team in a specific org, or somebody who's just passively following the instructions. And that is, again, going back to food analogy, which will be here forever on this channel, I guess. It's how you become a 5-star Michelin chef versus somebody who just doing the dishes all the time. That ability to actually, and desire to experiment, because a lot of it is desire. I mean, why would I be afraid to create a new report? I would probably be complacent, lazy, and not given a thought. Sorry, I'm trying to avoid corny language here.
But I would take it a step further. Do we actually dedicate time to play? And how often do we even do that? Do we block out time that says, I need to figure this out, don't bother me for a couple of hours, I need to hit on this? Because too often we've always got another data customer coming in saying, I need this, or you've got leadership saying, I need that. And we're too busy trying to cook on the fly instead of actually experiment and coming up with the new best sauce.
Well, I love this idea, cooking on the fly. I recently, in my cooking, I really embraced mise en place. You know what it is? It's when you put all the ingredients, weigh them all, and you put them in front of you before you start cooking, instead of something is burning on the stove and you're running, to fetch the salt. Getting all the ingredients in place before you start cooking and experimenting in ITAM. This is why I love this concept, because we can reassess what we do from the point of view of practicality. By the way, going back to your book, which really rethinking information technology asset management, which to me is like a Bible of practical ITAM, which I have questions, and a lot of other people will have questions to your approach. But what I like about it is that I come from a practitioner background, and I did consult a lot at the time between like 2006 2012, between the first two editions of the ISO 19770. On its processes and compliance and alignment. And in my experience, I've never seen a fully working theoretical 19770-1 compliance. But if it was looked at from the practical standpoint, with the actual application and cherry picking ideas from the standard, that's when I've seen success. I hope you still follow what I'm saying.
Well, it's also about the reason why we usually can't kick the tires and test is we're so reactive to the requests and demands, and it's about the chaos. What chaos are we managing at the moment, right? I'm being respectful to all of us, but we all have to deal with that chaos. And how do we make sense of the chaos? Because you think about the demands we have. And actually, I just posted something this morning on my LinkedIn talking about burnout. The demands we have as asset managers, software asset managers, or even configuration managers, right? We've got demands hitting from everywhere. We have to figure out how to manage this. If you're just doing the checkbox, your project entirely failed, right? You have to be that thinker. You have to be kind of a forward thinker too, as well. But it's evolution. It doesn't just happen. For example, look at some of the job descriptions, right? You look at job descriptions that come out, they're all across the board, right? They're all across the board. Okay, I want this person to do suit from beginning to the end. And actually, I think I'm going to have a guest on tomorrow. I'll actually talk more on this one in particular. But you have these job descriptions with unreasonable requests. I'll just say that. Oh, well, all this experience, and this person has to have 5 years of experience, or with all this experience, all within 5 years. Really? To implement a good ITAM program, you got at least 12 months minimum just to get it online and aligned, et cetera, right? But my point is back to from a tangent, and we can go several tangents here, right? The recipe, again, it's a guideline. It's like, what was the movie? What's the movie from the Pirates movie? Sparrow. Yeah, it's a guideline. It's like the Pirates Code. This is the ITAM code. Thank you. But it's about, we have a guideline. We have a guideline, that's great, but how do those guidelines fit to the organization? That's what we're talking about. Does that make sense? If you guys want to run with that?
It does. It does. And I think, was it Dorian actually started to anticipate where you were going with that on in the comment chat. And let's call that out a little bit, that there does need to be some knowledge and talent and differentiation. I'm hoping we can put Dorian's comment into the display.
Which one, Dorian's?
Yeah, Dorian begins with experimenting works well, actually.
No, not talent. Okay.
I want to give her credit for this. So,
this is also a technology kickoff. So yeah, part of this, we're having fun on the fly.
It's deeper back into the chat, but the experimenting works well if you know what you need and the terms and conditions associated. It takes an ITAM leader who knows what's going on in the kitchen. And that actually touches not just on the learning, the experimentation process, but there's also a need for that where the lines are, those guideposts. The best recipes that you will find from your grandparents are the ones that are stained and scorched and have little chicken scratches saying not this but that, where the recipe keeps going over and over again. Yeah, there's an education piece. You need to know what a cup is. You need to know the difference between baking soda and baking powder. Screwed that one up. and not just once. Terrible cookies. But there's also that that understanding that oh, and I got lost in the analogy here real quick, but the guidance, the experience piece. So I want to start to shift this conversation, and let's talk about how important it is to have someone with experience, to have a mentor, and to be able to tap into other co-workers that might have seen things before and can help you out with some of the problems you're running into.
Well, you're right. You do want to have someone with experience that's done it, right? And that's the one thing, honestly, that I've seen, speaking from experience about experience, right? That most executives are trying to shortchange today. And they're trying to say, okay, you don't need the experience. It's just going to happen. The vendor's going to push it in. You make it happen. You have some best practices. I'm not here saying you don't. But it's being able to say, how do you help architect this together? That's where Dorian, you're going. That's Jeremy, that's where you're going. Sasha, we say the same thing, right? And I've had conversations with several of you actually listening right now. It's like, we have to figure out how to better communicate and connect, right? And making sure that, because the executives are going to do what executives are. They're there for a couple of years. We may be there for 10. How are we going to work with the changes?
Indeed. And
enable the new executives. And give them a little bit of background and say, here's why we went the path we did. That goes also why we hire executives and a different change, why they hire individuals. I mean, I've been hired in as advisor before, just as an outside party to say, okay, Bill, I just need you to come in and check every once in a while. Outside of that, I'm totally cool. I say, that's where I want you to be. I want you to think on your own. And that's what we don't do, is think.
Well, we also don't write stuff down. I can't tell you how many environments I've walked into. Do you have a playbook? Do you have a instruction manual? Do you have
a recipe book?
Flows and workflows?
Exactly.
And everybody looks at me, it's like,
another good analogy, a recipe book. Really good analogy, Jeremy. That
yes.
And what Bill was talking about communications, and there are lots of comments, by the way, about communications right now. We have, by the way, thank you all the participants in the chat. We have fantastic comments. They're golden. I'm thinking, how can I feed it to some kind of clever AI to just basically write an article just based on these quotes, quoting all of you. Amazing. Thank you very much, everyone. So the analogy I was thinking about communicating what we do, something came to mind. We have a fantastic Romanian cook in our food court here in our little town where my office is. And I spoke to him about, professional cooks and like semi-professionals or really good home cooks. And he said, one of the biggest differences is which differentiates a good cook and defines that chef's success if they decide to become serve the public is plating. It's not just about cooking a dish. It's not just about making sure it's tasty. It's the presentation. It's the delivery. It's the appeal to the client, because a lot of it is visual in food. But in our world in ITAM, as we've discussed so many times, and I want to go back to that topic again and again because it's very important, is what I call an internal marketing. A good ITAM team, there must be a professional marketer. I'm not necessarily professional. Okay, I don't know, fanatical marketer on the ITAM team. Not necessarily the head of ITAM, but one of the key stakeholders that is able to take this incredibly, for general population, I'm not trying to offend anyone here, incredibly boring subject of software asset management, IT asset management, and even ITSM, and wrap it up in an exciting way, which explains, which delivers all the flavors, which shows it from the best point of view, with all the layers and whatnot, the mastery of what we do. That element is to me maybe second most important, and I'm struggling to think what is the first most important. I'm just trying to be humble here. It's the ability for us to deliver that, to demonstrate the value. And before that, even research the market and actually understand what is the value that's expected. Mm-hmm. It's paramount. That is differentiated between we are recognized and we are just collecting dust in the corner.
So that is a theme that shows up a lot in project management. And one of the tenets in project management is know your user and you are not thy user. A good cook, to keep with the analogy, is not the dinner guest. They're not exactly, you've got to be able to present something that looks appetizing. You've got to present something that tastes appetizing to them, not you. That's great if you like your own cooking, but it won't sell. So when it comes to that's part of the reason why, and I don't get to touch on that too much in my book, why it's important to not think about ITAM as a reporting output, but a narrative. You've got to be able to take these details and turn it into a story so that those busy executives that don't exactly know what they need are able to pick up on where you are going and what you are doing. And I'm seeing in some of the comments that it looks like Matthew Smith and Deanna Henniger, I hope I pronounced that right, are actually beat me to that punch. They're already talking in those sorts of, in that sort of framing. So let me punt it back over to Bill, give him a chance. How important is data narrative compared to just data reporting for ITAM?
First of all, it's extremely important. And here's why I just dive right into that, right? I just went head first, cannonballed into it. You don't know your data, you don't know your environment. You don't know what you need to collect. Because if you're just collecting data, so what? Here's garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. You can collect too much and go nowhere. You don't know what your executives or stakeholders need and require and have that alignment, right? What are you supposed to collect? Are you just collecting stuff? I have a whole garage full of stuff. I'm trying to clean it out. Why am I cleaning it out? Is because some of it's not useful anymore. That's the same analogy I'll use for the executives. Executives don't care about the detail. They're looking for results that resonate to them. And typically dollars and cents, right? Or tell them where you're struggling. They want to know that because they want to help you. They'll find the right players to help you. But they don't want to know all the granular details. They're not worried about normalization. They're not worried about saying, okay, I'm off by one license. Well, if it's $1 million, it's different, but you kind of get my point, right? But they are concerned about team members that are not playing together. They are concerned about alignment and say, okay, you have unwarranted purchases and understanding why this is occurring. They're interested in understanding how they can talk to their peers. And that goes for any of the CXO. I did use X. I did not use any other letter, but X, because you can fill in your own part. With the CEO on down, the CEO wants to know as much as anybody because it goes to the board. Because at the end of the day, and I just posted something, if you've seen any articles posted from me in the last week, I went a little crazy because I've been putting a lot of playbooks out. And I've done that back to the point we've talked about. It's like everyone has a hidden gem here. It's like, I'm posting it and I'm talking to executive levels because I'm doing that on purpose because we're doing our best to push things up, but still not resonating at the top. And I've now done this for 30 years, right? As far as being in the industry, all sorts of things, roll up my sleeves and I'm an old Peregrine guy on top of it, do the tool before they did and all that stuff, right? But knowing that, it says, well, you're an expert. It's like, sort of. You know everything. It's like, nope, never will take that title. We'll never take that title. And the reason why is I want to learn and grow like everyone else. Every time I go in a conversation, and I've done this before, I've gone into a room of like 25 people. And I said, okay, what's our journey? I go, what do you mean? I want to know what's in your mind and where you want to go. That roadmap I'm talking about right there, with the executive in the room, you just got buy-in. It's huge. It's exciting. My hair's on end because every time I do that, and I can whiteboard in a heartbeat with them, and it's not that, okay, do anything special outside of having a conversation and being able to make it so it's relatable. That's where the fun is. All of a sudden, you see the entire room light up, and the entire room is on the same place. So about 2 years ago, I did this with a large financial group. Actually, I did it twice in 1 year, but this one large, and it was hybrid, right? And had asset management folks, configuration management, had different disciplines in there, and they never talked to each other. I had close to 50 people in this workshop. They hardly ever, they knew who each other were, but they never talked to each other. And then on top of it, I said, so what's your overall arching plan? What's your organizational goals? How are you looking? It's like, I don't know. Back to your point. Wherever you guys want to take that, I can keep going for hours on that one. Mute. But the whole idea there is how can we make sure we're resonating to the right people on their terms? Because okay, so let's flip the page a little bit for our conversation, and guys, and hopefully, are you? Well, let me ask this question to all the audience: are you guys having fun and enjoying this? I know we are because we can talk forever. We've been doing this on and off. Put in the chat. You tell us if you're really enjoying this because I know we are. We want to make sure we're online because literally, if we're not, we can keep talking. It's all good. I just want to make sure we're aligning with you. Just throw it in there. Give us a little bit of feedback if you could.
I'll throw in another question, which you don't have to answer right now. Anyone here is with us. If you want to participate in one of the conversations, give Bill a nudge. Send a suggestion. You know what do you want to talk about? And you know, we are very open. This is not a television channel. You know, you don't have to be vetted specifically. So yeah, just let us know.
Exactly, because the whole idea where I was going was on the vetting your alignment. Once you have that alignment, it's crazy. It's awesome, right? So let me give an example of something I did. Gosh, it's been 20 years since I did this. It was crazy. A different financial firm based in the Southeast. I'm going in there and I'm a managing consultant at Peregrine. Okay, fine. I did this RFP and we'll just say my boss said, Bill, you're going to do something. You messed something up. Go fix it. So I was one of those go in and do an upgrade on Peregrine Asset Center. If anybody knows Asset Center back in the day. So I go in there, work with this organization. Again, this is about alignment. Work with this organization. It's like, okay, we're going to do this upgrade. It was like, cool. I had a technical consultant there. I was there in person, et cetera. I have about a dozen people in the room. And the asset manager plus his entire team. They were doing hardware, software, they're doing chargebacks, they were doing it all, right? Servers, it didn't matter, even mobile phones. And it's like, oh, you want to see the system? It's like, fine, let's go see it. Not that I hadn't seen the system, worked on it, for rolling my sleeves before, I've seen plenty, right? Okay, put it in there. Within, I'll say 7 minutes, they were done with the demo. Like, okay. And if anybody knows Peregrine, the whole Peregrine Asset Center tool, there's a lot you can do with it. A lot. And it's like, okay. And the question I didn't expect. And Jim, bless his soul, I still love that guy in so many different ways. And he was a good friend, to say that. He goes, Bill, what's your assessment? Being a consultant for 15 years at that point, it's like, okay, be put on the spot. You have an entire team right there. How do you respond? And I'm still trying to figure out how to speak. I do much better now than I was doing even then. It's like, okay, let's see how I can respond to this. I said, you're using about 0.5% of the tool. That was my response. Their jaws dropped. Just the tone in the entire room just totally. It's like, what in the world? I mean, can you imagine being told that by an outside party? You're barely using the tool, and it's a tool that you really enjoy, et cetera. I said, however, add to it. However, it meets your needs. Everything and how you're doing it, it meets your needs. Therefore, from that standpoint, you're doing awesome. His next question was, how can we improve it? I said, that's what I can help you on the journey. And within the next 12 months, this is no joke. Oh my gosh, I love this story actually. In the next 12 months, they became the most trusted source of data in the entire company. CIOs came to them asking for, okay, what's forthcoming? The person in charge of all the contracts for all of IT said, I now want to put all my data in here because you have all the data here. I want to resource it so when I get a phone call from, say, Oracle, I know where our software position is, and I can help them now renegotiate that last minute deal. They were also, and this is back when I worked with HP, they were also the most referenceable customer at HP at the time because they knew how to use their system. Spoke at conferences, et cetera, and I don't do that for bragging rights. I do that from a perspective of how confident they were talking about how to move forward with their entire initiative. And keep in mind, I'm going to go back to where I started in the story. Started using 0.5% of a product. I had all this capability. They honestly just didn't have a guide or some trusted source how to move forward.
Is that the takeaway, Bill? Is that the takeaway to start using the product?
Not just product, but
is it okay? So let's discuss this. Do we see this often when a product is at the store but not properly used? And I wonder why. Because I think the reason that two reasons that I've seen, this is my experience, are we just bought this tool that just works on its own, which is often happens. It's ridiculous, but it is. And the other one, there's somebody assigned to deliver the ITAM function, and it's good if it's only a sum function because it's less than entire ITAM. There's one ITAM person for a 50K international organization, one that is looking after the tool, and they just don't have the time to actually properly start using it. And they only get back to it when they have a sudden renewal and somebody is asking, okay, how many licenses we need? And I wouldn't even say more often than not. No, in 100% of time in that situation, they don't have the right answer.
Well, I think that brushes up against the magic bullet thinking that we see a lot of organizations go into. They're happy with just 1% usage of a tool because they think that that tool is the solution, not the work that the tool allows. But they're sold on the idea that if you drop in, and let's go ahead and name names, you drop in Flexera, you drop in ServiceNow, all your problems are going to go away. And the CIOs love it because they get to say, it's not my fault, it's not my leadership, it's not my teams, it's not their work. It's that tool that we can blame, and then 3 years later, we'll rip it out and replace it with something else.
Golly, that's such a painful thing that you just said. I've never thought about that, the blame aspect of the tool, because I'm struggling with understanding of the human nature, because we've all been saying the same exact mantra for years and years and years, since I remember me being introduced to SAM in 2003. That tools don't work on their own. You start telling that to people, they just do this la 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 la. They don't want to know. They don't want to hear it. They invested money in it for the purpose of it doing its own job on its own, almost like an agent. And by the way, I don't believe AI agents in the next 5 years will learn how to manage it, since we haven't learned. AI learns from us. We don't know how. So that's the problem. We can't outsource it all. What are the other reasons, Jens? Because I think it's an important topic, and how do we overcome this? Because I think if we manage to crack this tough nut of decision makers not even wanting to hear this whole silver bullet mantra, they hear silver bullet, they shut off. It's almost like a spam message. This spam email came to your inbox. Oh, they're talking about this again. But it needs to come across. It needs to come across, because it doesn't work like this.
So within the last little over a week, I've put out several articles, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, about ITAM and SAM being the invisible control function for executives in 2026. So there I hit some of these targets from a reading perspective. Another one, and I was being festive on this one, is how to bring the jingle back into your ITAM and SAM, right? As far as, okay, how do you make that happen? So it's your secret superpower. That's what most people have forgotten. It's like, okay, we think the tool is going to go in there, solve it. And to your point, Sasha, one resource is going to fix everything. And trust me, I know service providers do exactly the same thing. Oh, that one guy's out there. Or you maybe get half a resource after a year, cut it back because of the cost, right? But it's being able to say how it's put in there. I also have identified, have said, okay, stop putting ITAM and SAM in a corner. Stop saying it's part of ITSM. It's complementary, but it actually needs to be pulled out from that standpoint, right? And being able to say how we can look at this. Now, I say this because there's lots, again, we've talked about, okay, ITAM Kitchen, the different topics we can talk about. But it's being able to say, how do you resonate with your executives? And that's what these hit on purpose, right? On that standpoint, because again, this goes back to the playbook. And these are playbooks literally you can provide to your executives. So if you're an ITAM manager, say, you know what, have you tried to read? Here's something you can go read. We've called it secret sauce, but the thing is we kept it, the secret sauce is secret, which is why we have a lot of the chaos. Because here's what I've done last year. In this part, I've been quiet. You look at my blogs, activities, etc. I've been quiet. Every once in a while, I comment on it in and out, but not like previous years. And there's several reasons why I did that, and some of it was personal. I had to overcome some challenges I had. But the reason, what I also learned and was along the way, get stuck in the weeds too easily. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, here's where our overall focus is, we get stuck down here. We can't make progress. We get stuck. And how do we drive that, right? That's what I'm talking about. And that's why you're starting to see these activities and outcomes, because I want it to be known. I've been doing it 30 years. Great, 30 years. Okay, you know what what I learned out of it? I still don't know it all. I'm not going to. And I want people to share it because life's short. Not to be morbid, but we have to take the morbid approach. Life is short, so is an ITAM program. So is your executive being inside that role. When you think about that, how can you say, you know what, you may not be, executives don't like being talked like this, but think about the confidence you have and say, you know what, Mr. Executive, you're absolutely right. This will absolutely help in some ways, but here's what you're not going to see because you're not going to be in your role by the time we roll this out. But you know what that does? That means you're paying attention to your role. You actually gain credibility by that. So I'll go down that path. I can tell I'm really shy about it these days. Yeah.
Great subjects, by the way. What we don't know, we've just discussed it in the private chat with Jeremy. How can we ask our beloved audience here on this live event and people who will be probably watching recordings on different channels. We are, by the way, cross broadcasting to 4 channels at the time. How do we ask what particular subject, what particular pain point should we discuss next? Or maybe like a top list of subjects, because we don't have a crisis, creative crisis here at all. We have a list of about 100 potential subjects, 100 potential angles connecting cooking and ITAM easily. Like secret sauce for ITAM. You know, is your ITAM program cooked? All the right ingredients. We have all that, and properly aligned with.
When to define a redo for your seam to be. That's an awesome topic, right?
Why not? Yeah, we can do that. I'm not. So by the way, I have comments about CMD, but it's more in your and Jeremy's area, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
we can have fun later on that. That's fine.
Good, but yeah, would be nice to know if someone can comment what you want to hear before we wrap up this session. If you can let us know in the comments, we know what you want to hear about next time, what you want to discuss a particular topic. If you want to actually come on live and also discuss it with us, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I'll do, I'll go ahead and prime the pump for the next one. So I've not put the notification out, but you'll see it definitely on YouTube because it's a notification. I will also put it on LinkedIn, so feel free to look at it. I'll have it out there shortly. Do not have it at the moment. This just came up. There's some things I think on the fly that I'll say from a business owner you shouldn't always do, but okay, there you go. So we're going to have another session tomorrow. We're going to do this on a regular basis. I don't know if it's going to be daily or not. We'll figure that out. We'll figure out the sequence. But tomorrow we're going to talk about some of the challenges in the job market, in particular for ITAM. Whether it's a practitioner, consultant, et cetera. We're going to have some of that discussion. I will have a special guest come on that. I like some of the things coming in through as well, as far as the implementation's key must-haves. I love that. Where to locate ITAM in the company. Ironically, I'm about to publish something about that, so we can talk about that. I see another one, how to mature ITAM and seem to be maturity. Great topics. So let's do that. And it's all possible. But I'm just, for prime the pump, tomorrow it's about actually figuring out, okay, where do we want? How do we work within today's job market? That's what tomorrow's going to be, just as an example, to put in there. I'll have a special guest with me tomorrow, and I know another special guest that wants to come on, so we'll probably talk about that more than once, because there's a big problem in our space right now for lots of reasons. So we'll start there. Okay, there we go. We're getting all sorts of feedback here on the chat, which is great. So there we go for tomorrow. And like I said, I've got to do to get that posted on LinkedIn, so we actually have it out there for us, and we'll make that happen. We'll try to make it so it's more proactive, but with the success we had, honestly, this is the test run. This is it. I'm glad the feedback and the insights going. Tell your friends about it. Whether it's on LinkedIn, we're going to do LinkedIn as well as the YouTube channel. If you're looking at the YouTube channel, it's at ITAM Kitchen. That's the channel within YouTube. And the whole idea there is, again, sharing information. That's what this is all about. Collaboration. What a concept, right? We have to learn how to talk. If we can't talk with each other and our peers, where are we? Anything else you guys want to add?
No, thanks, Bill, for the opportunity to be in on the first one. I'm looking forward to seeing where the ITAM Kitchen goes from here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a lot of fun. I see even inquiries coming in from Asia. Asia wants to get involved with this, which I'm fully embrace that too. And we can also talk about just the workforce and differences as far as the workforce from a talent set as well as job description.
Asia really interests me, from what perspective is that in the Western world, we've been hearing about the death of SAM and ITAM for a while from people probably that got tired of it. I don't know, got tired that their agenda is not progressing, that we're all basically just running in circles for about 10 years. And I always tell them, before you proclaim the death of ITAM, look at the Asian job market in ITAM right now. And it's been thriving for the last 5 years, and it's not stopping. That's a good indicator that the discipline is not dying. It's just we are tired.
I've been doing it 30 years. I'm still excited about it. I'll say I'm a geek in that area, is the best way to put it. Right.
I do enjoy going into a new data set and poking around and seeing what the patterns are and what it's telling you.
The number one question I've always stumped execs with, and everybody here will hear it right now. It's a simple question, but it gets their attention every time. Ask them how much software they actually own. Nobody knows.
It's a throwback to my 2005.
It is.
Yeah, when we installed the first tools in the client's environment, and the client realized that the number of software titles they have is not 20, it's 2,000.
Yep.
And yeah, we had so much fun. it's not as fun these days because we know what to expect, but that was at the time so much fun.
Yeah. Good to see you there, Mr. Champlin. I'll call out for you. It's been a long time. And I have lots of great friends here online. This is great. And you're right. The executives don't have a clue. But it's not something they should really worry about. That's a number they should already have. And who do they put blame on? The software asset manager, the IT asset manager. The reality is, we don't know. We gained the role. We inherited the role. We figure out, it's like, okay, we have this mess we're trying to clean up, right? So any parting thoughts? We're wrapping up here for the top of the hour. I'm going to do my best to stay on time. Sometimes we'll probably go a little over because we like to talk a lot.
Before we wrap up, I want to kind of, and Jeremy didn't ask for it. This is my initiative. I want to remind everyone that Jeremy wrote this fantastic book, and the second edition is coming in February. I'm a bit biased because I have a signed copy. Is it? No, it's not yet. Where's the signature? I need to find it. It's on this side. Yeah. So I have.
There it is.
It's what I like about it is this is actually a recipe book of how to cook ITAM. There's a joke. I will try to translate it from my native language, my mother's language, to English. Basically, two guys are sitting and talking with each other, and one says, "You know what? I absolutely don't like cats," and the other one says, you just don't know how to cook them properly." So it's like ITAM isn't working. You just don't know how to cook it properly.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything else to add on that one.
you just have that shocking image in your head right now. I'm sorry for that. So some people have terrible imagination.
No. But that is that non sequitur. I love it. But yeah, could it really be just a perception problem? For those of us that are in the weeds working on it, we don't feel like it. But then again, when we start talking about what the needs and the understandings of our data customers, in particular the business leadership, they have a hard time expressing what their needs really are. So we've got a pretty big disconnect going on here. We've all touched on that. Something to consider for next time.
Yeah, certainly.
Absolutely. And then from a recipe perspective, I'm going to post it within the chats. I'll put individual chats within LinkedIn as well as within YouTube. It's going to be about classic Hoppin' Johns.
Oh, yes, please.
If anybody knows what. So what Hoppin' Johns is actually a New Year's Day dish, right? It's about New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and where you use black-eyed peas. And if in the U.S. and maybe different parts of the world, I'll just say more the U.S. When I'm used to Southern U.S., it's actually a Southern delicacy where you use black-eyed peas, which is known for good luck, right? As well as a combination of several things. There's rice, there's bacon, it's all the good stuff. I'll just put it that way. And when you cook it, the masterpiece, and I did it for the first time on New Year's Day with my girlfriend, we'll just say she told me straight out, I was like, Bill, I was most concerned about that because you were doing it for the first time. But she says, I like that better than anything else we made that day. So from a recipe perspective, I'll put it out there, make it happen. But that's also, I'll put that in closing. Sometimes we have all of this stuff, all this chaos, all these challenges and opportunities, all the adversity and the craziness, et cetera, right? And we can go crazy with our stories. I mean, with 30 years, I've got tons of them. You couldn't shut me up for a year, probably. But what you have to realize, it's not about the chaos that's important. It's about how you look objectively at what you have and where you're going and get the team to be on the same page to help you along the way. Because you're never able to do this by yourself. That's the most important part. Everyone expects us to do it by ourselves. However, okay, I can manage the data and give you some insights. That's great. But how the data gets to me, I've got different team members to do discovery. I have different team members getting contracts. I have different people doing procurement. I have different people doing requests. How can I make sure we're on the same page? And what I've learned out of the 30 years of doing it, and it's like this back to the recipe, right? It's about knowing who the players are as you know them. And there's some players you may never know, but you're helping orchestrate and putting this all together. That's our real role. That's the real role. As we look at this, say, okay, how do we create this recipe? Because the final dish, it may only be there for a few moments because everyone's going to enjoy it. We got something new we have to do, right? But that's how you get people on board. Maybe tasty, understanding. You've taken the requirements. You're helping their own needs and their goals. You're helping make it all together. That's where the excitement is. And that's what I wish for everybody here. So with that, in 2026, Happy New Year. Welcome to the ITAM Kitchen. And this is the place to be. We have got plenty. I saw sometime you have too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, you can. We're going to learn how to work through that. That's another opportunity for us in the discussion.
Next time you invite, I'm going to join you from a real kitchen and we'll cook something. Quick.
There you go.
One of my 1 minute recipes.
Take my rig on the go. I can always go over.
I remember 1 minute recipes.
Yeah,
awesome.
Well, I have some. Because when you have little kids, sometimes you need to take shortcuts.
Yeah, my little kid is the 2-year-old I have, and the 4-legged one.
Yeah, but the 4-legged one doesn't seem too picky, as I remember.
Oh, you'd be surprised. She reminds me on a regular basis what she wants.
You've never had a husky, Jeremy. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's true. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll continue on. Look for an invite for tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that. I'll make sure it gets posted. Just pay attention to my profile. You'll see it listed there. Sometimes LinkedIn doesn't promote them as quick as we want to. Sorry about the last minute notification, but we've had a lot of fun. Let's keep this fun going. This whole idea.
Great.
Talk to you again soon.